wanted to show this little Mary D here and an option that you might like to know about for taking out the smocking and the pleating under the arms. You know, if you've ever made the children's corner, Lee, Mary D, or Ruthie, you know that the smocking goes from side seam to side seam on the front bodice. And that's a really nice, pretty look. But sometimes it might be nice to not have all of that fullness under your arm. One reason is that it's a little bit easier to construct later on if you're not dealing with, you know, cutting and folding over pleated fabric right in this area. So construction's easier. The other thing is that it pushes the fullness that would be in these side sections more towards the front. That gives you more densely packed pleats, and it gives you more pleats on the front of the dress. It also might enable you to get more complete of a design, especially if you're using smaller sizes. This particular design goes pretty far over to the top corners, you know, and so if this were stretched all the way across into the armhole, it wouldn't be this much that's cut off, but I would have reindeer that were pretty close under the arm, and I would have this part of this top border removed. So since I've been able to push everything to the center, that gives me more of the design. If I were making this on a smaller size, this is actually a size 4, but if I were doing this on a smaller size, this particular design, I would probably move these two little reindeer in several pleats just so I could be sure that everything was on the front, because that's what you want. You want everything to be on the front, not the pictures on the sides. If it's a geometric, really not a problem, but sometimes for pictures you need to plan this out and kind of do some thinking before you get started. The other thing about picture smocking is it really looks better if your pleats are packed a little bit more tight. You know, my little Santa and my reindeer, they're going to hold tight because they're smocked. And these areas in between are not, they're back smocked, but they're not as tight. And so if this were stretched all the way across, I would get a look, you know, more like this, where it just seems a little bit more stressed. So if we can take some of this fullness out here and push it to the middle, it just kind of lays a little bit more nicely. So let me show you how to do that. To start off with, I'm going to show you the regular way that Mary D, Lee, and Ruthie are done. You know, it is smocked all the way across, side seam to side seam, and then you take your blocking guide, get it all lined up, and draw your armhole in place. I won't get into the construction of that, but what you end up with is all of this section right in here under the arm that's smocked. Very pretty. I especially love it on a geometric. But you can see that if we took the fullness in this area and we pushed it more towards the middle, these pleats in here would just be a little bit more closely packed together, and that's a nice look. This is real pretty the way it is also, but especially for picture smocking, it's nice if they're just a little bit closer together once it's all blocked out. So to take this and move it this way is good. So I'll show you how to do that actually on your fabric. Now this has to be done before you start smocking, blocking, or anything. So get your fabric out. You've had it pleated all the way across the top. I've already gone ahead and done some steps here, but I'm going to show you what I did. But this is going to be a Lee. So I've got my skirts cut. I'm going to get my blocking guide out, blocking template for smocking, and I'm going to line it up. You know, I've got my top row of smocking here, my holding row is here, and I'm just going to lay it all out on my flat fabric, and I'm going to draw the armhole in. And now after I have it drawn in, I'm going to do that on both sides, and then I'm going to come and I'm going to remove the pleats from this area here. And I'm going to remove them up at least 1/4 of an inch here in from the armhole line. This is going to be my cutting line, so my seam line is going to be 1/4 of an inch in, so I don't want my pleats to get into that. So I'm going to stop it here and just take those pleater threads out from that pleat all the way down. Then I can tie these off. It's all right to do this on the back. Probably would have been a better idea to do this on the back of the fabric, but I didn't do that. Anyway, go ahead and tie off, you know, 2 to 3 at a time. And then you can do the same on the other side, pulling everything up to match your blocking guide. So when you have it all pulled up, all of your pleats would be from here to here. and you will be ready to smock at that point. And then the construction is just like the dress would normally be, except that you're not going to have to do that extra stitching along here because you're not going to have pleats that you're trying to, or smocking that you're trying to manage holding in place. So that's what you do. Give it a try. Hopefully that's a little bit helpful for something you might want to try in the future, something different. Anyway, happy sewing.